Cops of Reddit, what is the most suspicious thing you've ever caught somebody doing for a totally legitimate reason? Patrolling a military housing neighborhood, I had noticed a suspicious van parked around the area over the past few nights, always in a different spot, but I could never catch it coming or going. So around the 5th night of this, I hide my car and wait. Sure enough, the van rolls through. I waited a few minutes before following. Turn the corner and light up 3 guys rummaging through all the trash cans left on the street. Turns out, they were part of CID, think NCIS, the show, but army version. They suspected someone in the area was cooking meth, and were going through that garbage cans to find discarded ingredients. I only found this out after getting chewed out, after they called my supervisors. I still don't feel bad, no one told me. The first one that comes to mind for me, late at night, saw a dude hauling copper pipe out of a local grocery store after it closed down. Copper theft at the time was super common, so I thought I had a burglary in progress. I stop out, get ready for an easy arrest. Ask him what he's doing. He says he was hired to clean the place out. Ask why he's taking the copper. Owner told him that his payment was the copper piping. Since it wasn't going to be a grocery store after, they didn't need it. I didn't buy it for a minute. Bullcrap detector was screaming at this point. So I find the owner in our records, call him, and sure as hell, dude was hired to clean the place out, and was paid in copper pipe. That was their agreement. But then I asked him why he was out at 2 AM, since it was super suspicious. Since the place closed down, there was no air conditioning. As it was the middle of summer, 2 AM was the best way to do it and keep cool. Son of a cop. My dad told me about a time, back in the 80s. My father was sitting in his cruiser, around the corner from a bar. A car drives by swerving a little with exhaust coming for the tailpipe, signifying a recently started vehicle, pulls the guy over. Smells alcohol on the driver, while also noticing a large staff in the backseat. He has the driver step out, then inquires about the staff. The driver tells my dad I'm a black belt in Kung Fu, I use it in class. So my father, unconvinced, asks him to demonstrate his proficiency with the staff, whilst proving his sobriety in a sort of impromptu field sobriety test. The driver puts on a little show for dad on the side of the road. Dad's enjoying the show, but starts to hear sirens coming from all directions. A passerby had seen my dad on the side of the road in a face-off with a crazy man and a stick. Thinking my dad was in need of help, the passerby called the cops. Apparently, my dad had been so wrapped up in the show, he had not heard the radio calls for him. So dispatch sent all available units to his rescue. Passerby thought my dad was getting ass kicked by ninja. 3 AM on a weeknight, and I pull up behind a car at a light. The light is green and the car is stopped but running. Foot was on the brake. Light turns red, so I wait behind him. Light turns green again, and this dude isn't moving. So my partner and I quietly exit our vehicle and approach his. He was completely passed out, asleep, with the car in drive. We woke him up and talked to him to make sure he wasn't drunk, and he was just tired because his wife had a baby a few days ago and needed him to run to the store for something. That newborn sleep deprivation is real. I was just starting on the street around the time Pokemon Go was taking off. So many contacts in the middle of the night that were just people trying to catch Pokemon. Me, ma'am, I noticed you're driving in circles around this closed business at 3 AM. Person, yeah, there's a herd of Charmanders here, and it's too busy during the day. Me, oh thanks for letting me know. Pulls out phone and opens Go. I'm the guy who was doing something suspicious, but it kinda fits here. When I used to work at a grocery store, I would get off sometime between 10 PM and 12 AM, and I also preferred to ride my bike most of the year to save on gas. Since work was close to my house and there were few cars out, I never really bothered with lights. Already suspicious, I know. Right around Thanksgiving we would get in these massive stalks of Brussels sprouts, which if you have never seen one, they look like something you might find growing on an alien planet. A solid 3 feet of little bulbs at the end of spikes basically. They were super cheap, so I couldn't pass up such a deal. But of course the only way for me to transport it home at night was to ride with the stalk sticking a foot out of my backpack. I have no idea what the cops thought it was when they pulled me over. Marijuana? A weapon? They were doing their deal, where one talks to me and the other checks me out from behind when the one behind me busted out laughing. Are those Brussels sprout? They let me go a minute later. Police officer here. Long story short, guy gets locked out of his house by his wife and we catch him trying to get back into his house. It was just after midnight, and we got a call of a suspicious person looking into a home. We respond code 2, lights, no sirens, and switch off the lights before we get close to mask our approach. As we pull up to the house, we see no signs of anyone at the front of the house. So we walk around the rear and bam, guy with a crowbar wrenching on the back door. I yell, police, drop the crowbar. Dude starts screaming and nearly crying because we scared him so bad. Turns out he went to Tim Hortons to get a coffee as him and the wife had a few drinks and he forgot his keys and cell phone in the house. She was so drunk she forgot he left and locked the doors like she does every night. Poor bastard tried to wake his wife up and she was passed out and didn't hear him. He grabbed a crowbar from his shed to try to pop the locking mechanism out and we caught him. We managed to get a hold of her by calling her on my cell. When she answered the door, she admitted to accidentally locking him out and gave us the exact same sequence of events. I honestly wish we had body cams so we could replay the poor bastard's face and high-pitched scream. My cousin is a cop and told us the story of seeing a car driving slowly at about 3 AM through a neighborhood that had had several break-ins. He thinks to himself that they're looking for a target, so he puts on his lights and pulls them over. He walks up and the driver puts the window down and she turns to look at him with fire in her eyes and says, in a harsh whisper, "This had better be important because I just got the baby to sleep." He looks in the back and there's a baby in a car seat, sound asleep. The memory of what it was like when his babies wouldn't sleep rushes back and he says, "Oh no, I'm so sorry, never mind," and goes back to his car. She drives away slowly. He's just glad he didn't wake the baby. My husband told me a story of one time when he was patrolling around and he spotted a guy who was in a straitjacket come round the corner of town that he was patrolling. Instantly suspicious. He ran over and grabbed him and asked him what he was doing. He said he was just messing around with it with a friend, but he lost his friend and can't get out. So my husband asked to call his friend just in case, and lo and behold he wasn't even lying. Actual cop here. I work midnights, and one night I'm sitting in my cruiser at like 2 AM doing paperwork. I see an older model car driving slowly around the area and then pull into an abandoned parking lot and black out in the corner by the woods. No lighting. This is for a building that is being torn down. This is not normal. So I'll look into it. I pull up to him and get out. "How are you doing?" I asked. "What's going on in this parking lot tonight?" He's got bags full of something in his backseat and he's alone. He's an older guy and he seems a little off. He tells me I'm here to feed the cats. I think to myself that this is a bullcrap answer and attempt to call his bluff. Okay, where are the? Then like 40 cats come running out of the woods. The guy asks may I say sure. He gets out of the car and starts feeding the cats. Dry food from his bags. The closest thing I can describe it as was the scene in Ace Ventura where his pets all come out of hiding. Okay, go on about your business, I guess. And I left. Dispatch, I got an unruly crowd forming here. Correctional officer here. 3 years ago I was working a high security high risk unit in the middle of the night. The control room came over the radio when I was doing my rounds in one of the 4 pods. Somebody popped out of their cell in B pod. This led to myself and 3 other guys suiting up in extraction gear and getting ready for the worst. We rush to B pod and get the inmate under control and cuffed. While we are doing so we observed smoke billowing out of the cell the inmate came from. Still have no clue How an unburnable cell caught fire, but it started inside the walls. Thank you for watching AskReddit. Please like, share and subscribe.